All right, we are here in a Tbilisi Zoo in Tbilisi, Georgia. Now, the cost of getting into the zoo is a whopping 4 gel. Um, Gel is just the currency of Georgia. It's actually called the lari, but GE, the country code for it's GE, and L for Larry, so it's kind of referred to as the gel. But anyway, it's a whopping 4 gel, which is $1.75. Now, to get into the reptile house, it's an additional fee, which is around 75 cents. And you can only use a credit card to pay for the fee in the reptile house. I learned something by visiting the zoo, however, that is never criticize things without knowing the exact circumstances of what happened. When I first got to this zoo, I was a little critical of the zoo and the keepers of the zoo. It just seemed to be in disarray. Many repairs looked like they needed to be done and all of that. But I didn't realize what had happened a decade earlier. Back in June of 2015, Tbilisi had a huge flood throughout the city, and it killed about 20 of its citizens, killed 20 people in the town. And it also killed, well, it destroyed the zoo, and half of the animals were either killed or they'd escaped. 3 workers died in this event, trying to, protect the zoo. The flooding almost completely destroyed the zoo. The zoo lost more than 300 animals, nearly half of its inhabitants. Many of these animals escaped the zoo and were running around town. And many of these animals were dangerous animals. There were hippos, there were big cats, tigers. They lost many of their tigers in this flood. I think they're down to 1 tiger now, 1 or 2. There were wolves roaming around town, hyenas. I think they virtually lost all their hyenas. There were bears roaming around town. I think most of the bears died as well. And the cages are still, they still look. They're working on them. They're being repaired. They're not going into disarray. And I didn't realize that. They had even sent out police units all over the city to try to capture these dangerous animals. There's a cute little otter there. So, never be too critical of things just before you know exactly what has happened. There's a hippo that had escaped that actually made headlines all over the world. There's even a picture coming up from the Arkansas Gazette having pictures of the flooding and people chasing this hippo around. Made news all around the world. Fortunately, they were able to tranquilize the hippo and bring it back to the zoo safely. However, other animals had to be killed. I mean, for example, there was this white tiger, pretty rare breed. He was loose, and he killed a man at a storehouse, which was real close to the zoo. The police were there, and they just had to shoot him. They had to shoot the animal. There was a penguin, I think an African penguin. It was found in another country. Azerbaijan borders Georgia, if you don't know. And what they figure is that the penguin must just kind of flow down the rivers. Of course, politics gets involved in everything. And the head of the Georgian Orthodox Church, in a Sunday sermon, blamed the floods on the sin of the former communist regime who built the zoo in its current location using money raised from the melting down of church bells. You know, I blame the commies for a lot of things. I hated the Soviet Union, but I really can't blame them for the flooding. As we're walking by here, all of a sudden the traffic seemed to have got louder, but that was a huge Ferris wheel. But did it sound creakety and rinkety? It didn't sound safe. I'm sure it's totally safe, but that was another example. It needs some oil and a coat of paint just to make it look nicer. And there was a rhino over there. But people from all over the world got involved. Zoos from all over Europe, from Prague, the Czech Republic, even Israel sent vets and emergency teams to the zoo to try to help out. So they still haven't gotten a lot of things done. But, they're probably doing about the best that they can at this point with the resources that they have. As I said earlier, unfortunately, they've also had earthquakes. They've had this confrontation with Russia. Many things, unfortunately, takes priority over the zoo. Here's some of that paper there. It's the Dawn Sun. I don't really know whose that's from, but it's showing the different animals around town. And there's something from back home, the Arkansas Democrat, showing these people behind the hippo, trying to move him into some sort of direction, probably trying to get him back into some sort of cage that they had set up for him. And here we go. So a lot of these things are still, the vegetation hasn't come back on some of them. There's still big brush piles all around the zoo as they slowly start to take them out. And so there's less animals than there would be at most zoo because, it's really hard to replace 4 tigers, They're very expensive to get, and of course you don't want to take them out of the wild. That would be ridiculous. It's a crazy amount of goats there, and they have their monkeys. The little lemurs that they showed before were really cute. I didn't know it, but apparently I don't know if the lady was just doing it, but she had a bag of apples that were sliced and the peelings, apple peelings, and she came totally prepared to feed them. So they must let you feed the lemurs there. I don't know that for sure if she was just doing it, but at least she was feeding them healthy food, not popcorn or something like that. And as I say, many of these areas, I know what this animal is here, but I can't think of its name. But they don't have many signs to show what the animals are yet. I'm sure they're working on it. Some of them, like in a reptile house, just has something they printed off a computer real quick and put on there, so at least you would sort of know what they were. Anyway, that's probably about it. That all I have to say is that much about this video. There's some section of this video like this that I had to totally cut the sound off because, like I say, the workers are still working on everything. So one, it was kind of loud, and two, they had their music playing as they were working, and that's a violation of YouTube rules to have somebody's music playing. It's a copyright infringement. So now the sound's back, so I had to cut that out. But many of the animals seem to have fairly nice pens, roomy at least. I hate it when you go to a zoo and there's nothing there. I mean, they're scrunched into a box. These are actually some real pretty white pelicans. They were huge as well. some of the biggest pelicans I ever seen, but they were just there sunning themselves. This is right at the end of October is when I took this. So things were cooling off. And yeah, here is like the one tiger that is left. I think they had 4, maybe 5. And now there's one. I don't know if this one survived the flooding or if this is a new tiger. I'm not sure which. But at least they have one left. And they have one, I think it's a jaguar. It's hard to see back there. I think it'll be on this video. But they have a jaguar and they have a one white lion back there somewhere. I think it'll show up in this video. But anyway, if you like these little zoo videos, these travel videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for listening.